My girlfriend said, "You would have done the same, but I never needed to lie to feel alive." For a second I actually thought I'd misheard her. My ears were ringing, my palms were sweating against the cheap laminate of our coffee table, and her words just sort of hung there in the air between us, mixing with the smell of cold takeaway and the faint lemon cleaner I'd used on the floor that afternoon. The TV was on mute. Some cooking show silently showing a guy whisking eggs like this was a normal night, and not the first time in 3 years I'd want to throw up in my own living room. Emma didn't look guilty, not really. She looked annoyed, like I had interrupted her getting ready to go out and was asking her to explain why my shirt was wrinkled. "You heard me," she said, crossing her arms and leaning back into the couch like she was trying not to fall into the crater that had just opened beneath us. Her eyebrows were pulled together in that way they get when she's trying to stay calm for a difficult customer at work. "You would have done the same, Alex. Don't act like you're some saint." She flicked her eyes down at my phone, still lit up on the table with the screenshots I'd been staring at for the past hour. The blue bubbles, the little hearts, that photo of her bare shoulder with his hand in the corner. My throat felt dry and my chest tight, but at the same time I had this weird floaty detachment, like I was watching us from the hallway instead of sitting right across from her. I needed to feel something," she added, her voice softening like that made it better. It was a Saturday night, 2 weeks after my 28th birthday, 3 years into a relationship I thought was heading for saving for a place together, and arguing about paint colors, not screenshotting messages to my best friend and asking, "Am I crazy or is this cheating?" Emma and I had been living together in a small 2-bedroom rental for almost a year, split bills, shared chores, the whole domesticated deal. I'm a pharmacy assistant. She's a bar manager at this loud, trendy place in the city that has neon signs and cocktails in jam jars and people who say, "Let's grab drinks after work," like they're in a TV show. We met the way a lot of people meet now, mutual friends, too many drinks, misjudged eye contact at 1 a.m. I'd always thought our origin story was kind of funny, kind of cute. She actually asked me out first, because I was apparently too polite and awkward to make a move. I should probably back up and explain how we got from there to me sitting on this couch, hands trembling over evidence I never wanted to see. From the outside, if you'd scrolled my Instagram, things looked fine. We had the standard couple pictures, us at the beach, her half wrapped in my hoodie, us at her sister's wedding last autumn, dress pressed, my tie crooked, us on the couch with pizza boxes, our rescue cat Pickles climbing over the box like a tiny goblin. People commented goals, and "You guys are so cute," and I believed it. I really did. The first thing that felt off wasn't a text or a late night, it was a joke. We were at a friend's birthday drinks at this bar in Newtown, the kind with exposed brick and craft beer chalkboards. Emma was in her element there, laughing too loud, hugging everyone, shouting to the bartender over the music. I've always been more of a nurse one beer and. People watch type. Around 10, one of her old workmates showed up with a guy in tow. Tall, rolled sleeves, beard, that generic "I go to the gym and sort of know it" look. "Alex, this is Ryan," she said, tugging him over by the wrist. "He used to be on bar with me before he bilayed to go back to uni." Ryan grinned and stuck out his hand. "The famous boyfriend," he said. "Good to finally meet the guy who actually gets her home in one piece." It was a harmless comment, but the way Emma laughed, tipping her head back, resting her hand on his arm for a fraction too long, stuck in my brain like something caught in my teeth. "Don't worry," she added, leaning in toward him. "I tell him all my secrets." "Do you tell him the ones about us?" He shot back, joking, and she playfully shoved him in the shoulder, face flushed. It was stupid to feel anything about that. Drunk coworkers flirting is, like, a default setting. But I noticed that when she came back from the bar with another round, she'd somehow ended up with his jacket over her shoulders, even though I'd offered her mine earlier and she'd said she wasn't cold. "Chill, dude," my friend Jess whispered when she caught me watching them. "He's a flirty dickhead. She loves you." She did seem like she did. On the train home, she curled into my side, her hair smelling like cigarettes and vanilla, mumbling half-asleep complaints about the night shift she'd pulled the day before. I filed Ryan away in the obnoxious bar guy box and didn't think about him much again. Not at first. The real start of everything was probably lockdown, honestly. Emma and I moved in together right before the first big wave. We'd been dating about 2 years, mostly alternating between each other's share houses and complaining about housemates who left dishes in the sink. When our leases both ended around the same time, it felt like the obvious next step. "We basically lived together anyway," she'd said, standing in the kitchen of the place we were inspecting, sun pouring in through the window, her voice echoing a little off the empty walls. "Now we'll just have one address for Uber Eats to find." "Think of how much we'll save," I added, pointing at the blush pink rent number on the listing. We can actually start a realistic savings account that isn't just called, lol maybe one day. We signed a 12-month lease. I put my Xbox in the corner of the lounge. She lined the bathroom shelf with more skincare products than I knew existed. We bought an ugly but comfortable couch off Marketplace. It felt good, adult but not in a soul-crushing way. Then the pandemic hit properly. Her bar closed. My pharmacy turned into a war zone. For months, our rhythms were like two completely different metronomes. I'd leave at 7 a.m. and come home at 7 p.m., my ears full of the beeping of thermometers, the sound of people yelling about masks, my head full of drug names and stock shortages. She'd sleep in, scroll on her phone, maybe do some online yoga class, then make elaborate dinners because what else was there to do? I'd stagger through the door exhausted, smelling like hand sanitizer, and she'd be waiting with a glass of wine and a plate of something she'd made from a recipe that used words like reduction and infused. "You're my hero," she'd say, and I'd half laugh, half collapse onto the couch. It should have brought us closer, I guess, shared trauma or something, but slowly, weirdly, it started to feel like we were living in parallel universes. Her bar reopened later than other places. Then with weird rules, then closed again, then reopened with outdoor seating. By the time they got back into a proper swing, she was restless in a way I wasn't used to seeing. "I need to be out," she said one night, packing the kitchen while I sat at the table trying to make sense of rostering emails. "I'm going insane just existing between these four walls and then that bar. There has to be more than this." "More than paying rent and not dying," I said, trying to make a joke. She shot me a look, "You know what I mean." I did sort of. I missed things too. I missed sitting in a cafe with a book, not worrying who coughed behind me. I missed not having to explain to 40 people a day why we were out of certain medications. But I also found a weird comfort in routine, in knowing exactly where my socks were, in the quiet of our little place when she wasn't there. She, on the other hand, needed noise. She started taking extra shifts as soon as the bar reopened, first to help them out, then because I feel alive there. That was the first time she said it like that. I feel alive when I'm there," she told me, eyes bright, cheeks flushed, buzzing from a night closing up. "The music, the people, the chaos. Being home is nice, but it's like sedated nice." "I thought sedated nice was kind of the goal," I said, washing dishes. "Peaceful, stable." She kissed the back of my neck. "Stable is your kink, babe," she teased. "Mine's serotonin." It became a bit. I'd call her adrenaline junkie. She'd call me grandpa when I wanted to be in bed by 11. We made it a joke because that's what you do when you have a genuine difference in how you see the world and don't know how to fix it. The first time I saw her lie about something small, it was about smoking. We were out the front of our building, waiting for our Uber to my cousin's engagement party. Emma ducked into the side alley to check on something in the bin room, which made zero sense, but I was too busy fighting with my shoelaces to question it. When she came back, there was that faint smell, tobacco and mint, that I knew wasn't my breath mint and definitely wasn't my aftershave. "You smell like smoke," I said. She flinched slightly. "Someone was smoking near the door," she said. "You, I hate it. Don't start, Mr. Pharmacist." I let it go. Later, though, at the party, I saw her slip outside with my cousin's boyfriend and take a drag from his cigarette, coughing and laughing like she'd just dared herself to jump in a cold pool. It wasn't the smoking itself that got me. Adults can do what they want to their lungs. It was the casualness of the lie. The way she'd looked me dead in the eye and said, "I hate it," then gone and done exactly that 10 minutes later because the moment felt right. Lying to make a moment feel right. That's basically the core of all of this, if I'm honest. Then there was Ryan. Apparently the universe wasn't finished with that guy. He started picking up the odd shift at her bar when they were short. I'd hear his name in passing. Ryan broke the new glass washer. Ryan forgot to close out a tab, and I had to chase some guy down the street. Ryan does this thing where he throws coasters into people's drinks that's objectively annoying, but they weirdly love it. I mentally refiled him as Emma's mildly irritating coworker. Then little things began to pile up. Her phone, which used to live face up on the coffee table, started traveling with her from room to room. If she left it on the bench and it buzzed while I was cooking, she'd suddenly appear behind me, all casual like, "Oh, that's mine, I need that." She changed her passcode. When I jokingly held out my hand for it while we were on the couch, she laughed and said, "You don't need my code, weirdo." "We always had each other's before," I said. "Yeah, when we had one level of security phones," she said. "Besides, aren't you the one who's always banging on about privacy at work? Boundaries, Alex." Weirdly, it made me feel childish to push the issue. To say, "Yeah, but you used to just hand your phone to me to order food and didn't flinch when I typed your old code. Then there were the post-shift drinks. At first, they were once a week. She'd text me around midnight. Emma, busy, but I'll be home by 1, promise Roman 20. Then it was, I'm just gonna stay for 1, we had a crazy night, we need to debrief. Then, I'm crashing at Jade's, we're both wrecked and I've had too much to drink to Yuba all the way home, lol, don't wait up. Jade is her co-worker and one of those girls I've never been able to fully read, nice enough to my face but with this constant undercurrent of I know things you don't. When Emma slept at her place the first time, I asked the next morning, how's Jade's new place? She blinked. What? You stayed there, I said, trying not to sound weird about it. Your text said. Oh, Emma said, cheeks coloring a tiny bit. Sorry, we actually ended up at Ryan's. He lives closer to the bar. Jade crashed on the couch, I took the spare room. I probably just typed Jade out of habit. You texted here at Jade, now, I said slowly, with a heart. She laughed too loud. Well, you know my feelings for her are deep and true, she joked, then kissed my cheek. Come on, man, if I wanted to do something dodgy, I wouldn't leave my phone on with my location on, would I? Funny she should mention location. Like an idiot, I'd shown her months ago how to use Find My when she lost her AirPods at work. We'd both turned on location sharing so I could help her track them down. Somewhere along the way, she'd turned hers off. Battery life, she said when I asked. That app eats it. I checked mine later, it didn't eat much. It's hard to explain what it feels like to have this slow, creeping suspicion. It's not like in the movies where you catch a whiff of perfume and suddenly remember a lipstick on a collar and everything montage flashes in your head. It's a drip, a steady drip. Each tiny thing on its own is nothing, but together they carve a hole through your sanity. I started doing what I hate, snooping. Not in a rifling through drawers way at first, just noticing. The way she'd angle her body away from me when she was texting. The way she'd lock her phone before she went to the bathroom, even at home. Then one night I cracked. She'd left for a staff meeting at 10 p.m., which is not a normal hour for any meeting in any line of work I've ever heard of. Pickles was asleep on the back of the couch. Her phone sat on the armrest, plugged into a charger, screen dark. My heart started beating so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. Everything in me screamed that I shouldn't, that if I went looking, I'd either find nothing and feel like a creep, or I'd find something and my life would change. I picked it up anyway. The lock screen glowed. I held it up to my face. Nothing. Oh yeah, Face ID. I tried her birthday. Nope, our anniversary. No, my birthday, no. I put it back down, feeling gross. The only thing worse than finding receipts would be becoming the kind of person who tried to break into their partner's phone like that. I sat on the couch, palms itchy, watching the Netflix menu scroll through automatically. It buzzed. A preview flashed up at the top, just enough to kick my stomach into my throat. Ryan, you look tonight, still thinking about. The rest disappeared as the lock screen dimmed again. I just sat there, staring. I didn't know what to do, call her, screenshot it, throw the phone out the window. I ended up doing none of those things. Instead, I stood up, walked to the kitchen on autopilot, poured myself water and walked back. Her phone buzzed again. Ryan, don't go all quiet on me now. I picked up my own phone and texted my best friend Liam. Me, hypothetical question. If you saw a text like, you looked hot tonight still thinking about, from a guy to your girlfriend, what would you do? Liam, punch the guy, lol. Liam, why? Me, no reason. Liam, nah mate, call, we're not doing this via text. I didn't call, I couldn't talk about it yet. Saying it out loud felt like it would make it real. Emma came home around midnight. She smelled like alcohol and citrus. Her eyeliner was smudged in a way that would have been hot if my brain wasn't busy replaying that text over and over. Hey, she said, dropping her keys in the bowl, you're still up. Yeah, I said, my voice coming out weirdly flat. You okay? I almost asked her then, why is Ryan texting you like that? Instead I said, tired, long day. She stepped over, wrapped her arms around my shoulders from behind the couch, resting her chin on my head. I missed you, she said, in that soft way that usually melted me. I sat there stiffly, not knowing where to put my hands. It got worse from there. Once the seed was planted, everything grew from it. Liam came over a few days later with beers and what he called his worried dad face. You gonna tell me what's going on, he said, or do I have to guess based on how many times you've typed, hypothetically, in the last week? We sat on the balcony, legs through the bars, watching cars go by. I told him about the texts, about the hotel Y late nights, about the phone face-downs. I left out the part where I'd failed to hack her code. My pride couldn't handle that and the rest at once. So ask her, he said, simple as that. I did, I said. She swears nothing is going on, says I'm insecure. Ah, as you? Probably, I said, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. He nodded slowly. Yeah, look, man, I can't tell you for sure. Maybe it's just flirty bullshit. Maybe it's more, but you look like you're getting eaten from the inside out. That's not sustainable. Great, I said, love that for me. Actually, he added after a second, I can tell you one thing for sure, that you do the same thing. That's crap, you wouldn't. I've known you 20 years. You overthink getting a second bag of chips from the vending machine without paying twice. I snorted despite myself. It got stuck, okay. Yeah, and you went and found a staff member, he said. Point is, that's not your wiring. I clung to that sentence without really knowing it. That's not your wiring. The actual proof came in the most mundane way, my phone backup. My Android does this thing where, if you link certain apps, it backs up chat logs automatically to my Google account. I'd never thought much about it beyond, cool, I won't lose my group chats if I drop my phone in the toilet. One evening, trying to avoid doom scrolling, I dug through my Google Drive for an old resume. I clicked the wrong folder, ended up in app backups, and saw a list of apps. One of them was a messaging app I didn't remember connecting. It had her name on it. To this day, I'm not entirely sure how it happened. We signed into one of those apps on my old tablet ages ago so she could message me from work on breaks when her phone was busted. I guess at some point it had synced, and my account had quietly started saving a mirror of her conversations. The ethics of it are murky, I know this, but at the time, my heart was already halfway out of my chest. I clicked. A list of contacts, my thumb hovered over Ryan. I opened the thread. The most recent message made my knees go weak. Emma, I'm home, he's here. Feel weird acting normal after what we just did lol. I scrolled up. Fast at first, then slower as my brain started to take in the words. Ryan, you're insane, sneaking out on your lunch break like that. Emma, lol, says the guy who said we've got time when we def did. Ryan, worth it, been thinking about that since last week, tbh. Emma, stop, I have to go pretend I'm a good girlfriend now. My heart pounded so hard my fingers went numb. I kept scrolling, back weeks, months. It had started as banter, memes, shared complaints about customers. Then you're actually so easy to talk to. Then I can't stop thinking about you in that dress. Then late night, you up, messages, a drunken confession one night. Emma, can't believe I'm even saying this, but I'm so bored of my life sometimes. Ryan, you're too wild to play house babe, that's on you. Emma, is it so wrong to want a little fun without burning everything down though? Ryan, not wrong at all. There were photos, nothing full-on explicit, but enough. Her in the bathroom mirror, dress hitched up just enough to be suggestive. His bare chest in some messy bedroom. A picture of both of their hands clasped together on a bar table, his thumb rubbing her palm. There was one thread that made my vision go fuzzy. Emma, he asked if we're okay, feels guilty, I think. Ryan, about what? He's the one with the safe little life. Emma, about me being off, says he misses me. Ryan, lol, you're with me, what's there to mismail? Emma, be nice, he's not bad, just safe. Ryan, safe is boring. Emma, alive versus comfortable, can't I have both? Ryan's, you do. Emma, I know. I don't know how long I sat there, fingers clenched around my phone. Pickles jumped up at some point, head butting my elbow, and I flinched so hard she fell off the armrest with a little offended chirp. That's when I took the screenshots. Not to show anyone, not yet, but because I knew myself well enough to know that in the morning, I'd try to convince myself it wasn't as bad as it felt, that I'd misread, that maybe it was taken out of context. I needed a record, something outside my own head. When Emma got home that night, I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I felt like there was a glass wall between us. She moved through the living room, talking about some drunk guy who tried to dance on the bar, grabbing a slice of leftover pizza from the fridge. I nodded in the right places, mouth dry. It took me 2 days to confront her. 2 days of going to work, answering people's questions about prescription repeats, smiling at old ladies who called me dear, while inside my brain looped that line, can't I have both? You do. On the third night, I set my phone on the coffee table, face up, and asked, how long have you been sleeping with Ryan? There's a particular silence that happens in that moment. It's like the world doesn't just pause, it leans in. Emma's laugh came out too fast. Excuse me. You heard me, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. How long? She scoffed, grabbing the remote. Wow, straight to accusations. Did Liam put you up to this? No, I said. You and Ryan's chat history did. I tapped my phone. The lock screen lit up with the first screenshot. Her eyes flicked down, then back to my face. That's private, she said automatically. So is my relationship, I said, or so I thought. She sighed, rolling her eyes, but her face had gone a shade paler. Where did you get that? Does it matter? Yes, actually, because if you hacked my phone. I didn't, I said. It synced to an old device. I stumbled on it. I shouldn't have seen it, but I did, and now I can't unsee it. She stared at me, jaw clenched. You had no right. You had no right, I said quietly, to kiss him in storerooms and lie about where you were sleeping and call me safe, like it's a character flaw. Her mouth opened and closed. I didn't say that. I swiped to another screenshot. Her words stared up at us in cold white text on a grey background. He's not bad, just safe. She flinched like I'd slapped her. We argued, of course we did. It was messy, overlapping, her voice getting louder, mine getting quieter. It's not like that, she said. It started as a joke, a bit of fun. Jokes don't usually involve hotel rooms, I said. It was just, I don't know, it spiraled. She ran her hands through her hair, packing the small lounge. I didn't go looking for it. I didn't join a cheating website. It happened. We were working together, flirting. One night we were both drunk and it happened. It happened, I repeated, feeling something crack in my chest, like tripping over a rug. You don't understand, she snapped. You just go to work, come home, watch your shows, go to bed. You're happy with that. I'm not wired that way. I need more. More than being respected, I asked. More than honesty. She looked at me like I was being deliberately obtuse. More than routine, she said. More than the same four walls, the same conversations, the same sex in the same bed in the same positions. I felt like I was dying. Then why didn't you just break up with me? I asked, finally saying the thing that had been clawing at my throat. She stared at me, eyes wide, like I'd suggested burning the house down for fun. Because I love you, she said, and for a second I almost believed her again. I do. You're my person. I just needed to feel alive, I finished for her. She swallowed, yes. And the only way you could manage that was by lying to me, I said. She hesitated. You would have done the same, she said quietly. That's the moment we're back to now, her saying that like it was fact, like it wasn't just a flimsy excuse she was clinging to. No, I said, the words surprising both of us with how firm it came out. I wouldn't. You don't know that, she said. You haven't been tempted like that. You haven't had someone show up like that in your life. You're acting like this is some moral failing on my part when it's just human. I'm human, I said. I've had people flirt with me. Customers, co-workers. I've felt bored. I've felt stuck, but I never needed to look someone in the eye and tell them a lie so I could feel alive. That's not a thing I need. She gave this little scoff, shaking her head. You're putting yourself on some pedestal because you didn't have the opportunity. Trust me, Alex, if some hot person threw themselves at you when things were rough between us, you'd do it. And here's the thing that I think really broke something in me that night. She genuinely believed that. She needed to believe that I was just like her, so she didn't have to sit with how shitty what she'd done was. Liam's sister hit on me at his birthday last year, I said, in the kitchen while you were outside having a cigarette with him. She blinked. What? She was drunk, I said. She kept touching my arm, saying you didn't deserve me, that kind of stuff. She kissed me. Once, I pushed her away, told her to cut it out, went and found Liam, put her to bed. I never told you because I knew you'd go nuclear on her and it was a one-time drunken thing. But if I was going to do the same, that would have been my moment, right? She stared at me like I was speaking another language. Why didn't you? Because I didn't want to cheat on you, I said. Because feeling alive to me doesn't mean betraying the person I supposedly love and then rewriting the story so I'm the victim. She opened her mouth, closed it, slumped back onto the couch, staring at her hands. For the first time that night, she looked genuinely unsure of her footing. We talked for hours. There were tears. There were silences so heavy I thought they might crush the furniture. At one point she tried to blame the pandemic, then her childhood. My parents were never faithful to each other. This is all I know. Then alcohol, then Ryan. He pursued me, she said. He wouldn't let it go. You could have, I said. You could have blocked him, quit, told him to fuck off. You chose not to, multiple times. At some point, around 2 a.m., she said, "What do you want to do?" "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "All I know right now is that I can't unknow this. I don't know if I can stay. I don't know if I can leave. I just know we're not going back to how it was last week." She nodded, eyes red. "I'll sleep in the spare room," she said. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling, my brain playing back the conversation in jagged snippets. You would have done the same. I needed to feel alive. Safe is boring. Alive versus comfortable. For the next few days, we were like awkward housemates. She tiptoed around, I buried myself in work. We did the logistics, who's paying which bill this month, can you pick up cat litter, that kind of thing, but avoided anything deeper. I talked to my therapist. I'd started seeing one last year for anxiety. Turns out that was a great call. She didn't sugarcoat it. "Do you want to try to rebuild?" she asked. "Or do you want to leave?" "I don't know," I said for the 100th time. Is staying weak? Is leaving dramatic? Am I making enough of a big deal of this? Too much? "There's no moral high score here," she said gently. "Leaving isn't dramatic. Staying isn't weak. The question is what kind of life you want to build, and whether you believe you can build it with someone who's shown you this part of themselves." Part of me wanted to stay, to see if we could go to counseling, negotiate boundaries, rebuild trust. It felt like failure to throw away 3 years because of just cheating, my brain tried to minimize. People get through worse, I told myself. Another part of me, the part that remembered her saying, "You can't hurt me," with her eyes, if not her words, wondered what future me would say if I stayed. Would he be proud that I worked through it? Or would he be sitting in a small apartment 5 years from now alone, wishing he'd left when the evidence was undeniable instead of waiting for round 2? The thing that finally pushed me toward a decision was weirdly small. We were in the kitchen, both reaching for a mug at the same time. Our hands brushed, we froze. "Sorry," she said quickly. I pulled my hand back. "It's fine." She looked at me, eyes huge. "I miss you," she blurted. I thought about how I used to feel when she said that. Warm, wanted. This time, all I felt was tired. "I miss who I thought you were," I said, "but I don't think I miss who you actually are when you're telling yourself you need to lie to me to feel alive." She flinched like I'd stabbed her. "That's not all I am," she said. "I'm not just this bad thing I did." "I know," I said, "but it's part of you. And I don't think I can build a future with someone who, when they feel trapped, chooses this instead of talking to me." She swallowed. "So that's it?" "Yeah," I said, feeling surprisingly calm. "I think so." We had the practical breakup talk that night. Who moves out? She did. Her bar income was better, and the lease was in both our names, but she had somewhere she could crash temporarily. Who keeps what? I got the cooch and the cat. She took the coffee machine and the plant that only she could keep alive. At one point she said, almost angrily, "You're really going to throw away everything we had because of one mistake?" "It stopped being one the second you did it again," I said, and continued for months, and told yourself I would have done the same so you didn't have to fully feel it. She shook her head. "You're never going to let me be human, are you?" "You are human," I said. "Humans make choices. You made yours. This is mine." It's been 4 months since she moved out. The first few weeks were hell. The apartment felt like an abandoned film set. Her side of the wardrobe empty, the indentation of her body still in the mattress, the stupid half-finished puzzle on the coffee table because she'd insisted, "It'll be fun, we never do puzzles," and then lost interest after an hour. I went through the stages: anger, sadness, bargaining, maybe we could just be friends. No, numb scrolling, all of it. I stalked her social media more than I should have. Saw the photos of her out with new friends, cocktails and glitter and captions like "choosing myself sparkles." That phrase made my jaw clench in a way I had to bring up in therapy. You can choose yourself without stepping on someone else, my therapist reminded me. Ryan popped up in a few shots. Nothing overt, always in the background, always just out of tag range. My stomach flipped every time. At some point I muted them both. Not blocked, more for me than out of any concern for them. Just out of sight, out of mind. Liam came over a lot. He helped me move furniture, ate horrible experimental dinners with me when I decided I was getting into cooking now, sat on the floor and played with pickles while I ranted. "You know what pisses me off the most?" I said one night halfway through a beer. "Not even the cheating, I mean that too. But that line, 'You would have done the same.' Like she gets to claim my hypothetical behavior to make herself feel better." Liam snorted. "Mate, I saw you panic about buying a used textbook without confirming with the seller 3 times. You would absolutely not do the same." It sounds stupid, but that's when something clicked. I'd been letting that sentence sit in my head like a threatening cloud. Maybe she's right. Maybe everyone cheats given the chance. Maybe I'm just uptight, repressed, boring. But that wasn't true. My choices up to that point proved it. I'd been bored before. I'd felt small and overlooked. I'd been flirted with, tempted, drunk. And every time I'd chosen not to cross that line, not because I'm better or morally superior, but because my way of feeling alive doesn't involve hurting people I care about. That realization was weirdly freeing. It made me less angry at her and more clear. Emma and I met up one last time, weeks later at a cafe near our old place. She looked different. Shorter hair, new tattoo peeking out of her sleeve, some kind of wave design. She fiddled with her coffee cup a lot. I wanted to say sorry, she said. I know I've said it before, but I mean it properly this time. I know you do, I said, and I believe you're sorry. I just also believe what you did happened. Both can be true. She nodded, eyes shiny. I'm seeing someone, she said. A therapist. Not like that, she added quickly, and we both actually laughed. I'm trying to figure out why I need chaos to feel anything. It's uncomfortable. Growth usually is, I said. She smiled sadly. You always were annoyingly wise. I overthink everything, I corrected. That too, she took a breath. Do you hate me? I thought about it, less than I used to, I said honestly. More than I want to, it's complicated. She nodded. If it's any consolation, you sticking to your decision kind of forced me to look at myself, she said. If you'd stayed, if you'd just yelled a bit and then gone back to normal, I think I would have kept telling myself it was that big a deal, that everyone would have done the same. They wouldn't, I said, and even if they would, I didn't. I know, she said quietly. That's the part that haunts me the most, I think. We parted on not good terms exactly, but not scorched earth ones either. Maury like two people stepping carefully around a crater they'd both contributed to in different ways. So here I am, on Reddit, telling this to strangers, because my real-life circle has heard it enough, and I'm still trying to get it all out of my system. If you take anything from this long ramble, maybe let it be this. When someone screws up and says, you would have done the same, that's not a fact. That's a confession wrapped in projection. It's them saying, I need you to be just like me so I don't have to sit with how I acted. Your choices are your own. Your wiring is your own. You are allowed to say, no, actually, I wouldn't have. And I don't need to lie to the person I love to feel alive. Stability doesn't make you boring. Wanting a life that isn't constantly on the edge of implosion doesn't make you less human, or less passionate, or less anything. Some of us feel most alive when we're not constantly cleaning up after explosions. I don't know exactly what my future relationships will look like. I know I'm more cautious now. I ask more questions. I pay more attention to not just how someone treats me when things are easy, but how they talk about boredom, about temptation, about responsibility. I also know that if someone tries to tell me what I would have done to excuse something they chose to do, that'll be a flashing red light instead of a sentence I quietly absorb. Because I've been there on that couch, watching someone I love try to drag me into their justification. And I've learned, painfully and slowly, that I don't have to go with them.